Okay, I think we can get started. I'd like to welcome everybody here for the budget hearing this year for the county for next year's budget. I'd like to go around, do introduction. I'm going to make it easier this time. We'll just start with Sharon, come right around the table, and then go to the back room with all the county officials and everybody else.
Sharon Kellogg, I work at the Commissioner's Office.
Representative John Cloutier, Sullivan County District 6, Horizon Communities of Claremont and Croydon.
Jonathan Stone, representing Sullivan 8. Go ahead.
Bill Palmer, representing Sullivan 2, Plainfield and Cornish.
Barry Spilsbury, representing Sullivan 3, Newport Unity and Charlestown.
Ryan Sullivan, representing Sullivan 1, fine town of Grantham.
Representative Judy Aaron, representing Sullivan District 4, which is Ackworth, Goshen, Langdon, Leominster, and Washington.
Representative Skip Rollins, representing District 6, Newport, Unity, and Charlestown.
Representative Walt Stapleton, representing Sullivan County District 6, Croydon and Claremont.
Representative Linda Tanner, District 5, Sullivan County, Sunapee and Springfield.
Representative Margaret Dry, Sullivan District 7, Plainfield, Cornish, Charlestown, Unity, and Newport.
Representative Gary Merchant, District 6, representing Claremont and Croydon.
Joe Osgood, County Commissioner.
Ben Nelson, Commissioner.
Derek Ferland, County Manager.
And the sheriffs and Mary and everybody in the back.
John Simons, Sullivan County Sheriff.
Janet Gibson, Vice
David Barry, Sullivan County DOC.
Sean Coughlin, Deputy Superintendent, DOC.
Mary Bark, Director of Facilities and Operations.
Matt Lagos, Administrator of Sullivan County Healthcare.
I'm Louis Thibodeau, the Business Office Manager at Sullivan County Healthcare.
Very good. All right, now we're going to take a moment for the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody stand. I've asked Representative Sullivan to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, before we all sit down, please stand. I'd like to take a moment of silence for John's brother, Gary Cloutier, who just passed away. And just take a moment of silence to remember him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, opening statement and presentation by the BOC proposed. 24 budget.
Thank you, folks. And Sharon's clicking, I'm reading here. It's going to be fairly kind of boilerplate and questions. So, overview, you can read it. I'm not going to go through it. So we can slip right on to county functions. Yeah, go ahead, Sharon. I'm not gonna read through them. I think most of us know what they are, but although I go to a civics class in Stevens, and I have to make myself a little cheat sheet to make sure I get them all in when I'm standing in front of a class. So that's basically what we do. Goals, didn't make any changes. You know, invest in our people. We're lucky to have some really great manager, department heads and stuff, and we're working hard to get that middle management. Lots of training. Of course, COVID kind of slowed that up some, but lots of trainings and stuff trying to get middle management, because we want to do homegrown talent. A, it's the best way to do an organization, and B, you can't get anybody to move now. So that's a couple of reasons to really invest in our homegrown talent. Strategic use of resources, and the big thing on the resources that we've gotten through the bond and get the project on time and within budget. So far, so good. Sustainable budget with no structural deficit. It's going to hit us in the butt one more time. Hopefully this is, we're weaning off that. Connect with citizens of the county and have the land well used by lots of folks. And Lionel is really doing a super job with that. Make innovation a way of life, exercise responsibilities and regional leadership. And we've been doing lots of partnerships with other organizations, the city, towns and stuff. And that, I think that's one of the ways we can become, one thing way we can really help is to be a facilitator and a partner. Okay, budget. COVID is, I know lots of folks went Yahoo, COVID's over. The folks at the nursing home, all healthcare folks, COVID, I mean, is as much of a pain in the ass as it was for you and me. It was times that multiple times for anybody in healthcare. They just got rid of the masks, what, a month ago?
Sure, yeah.
Something like that, you know, and if numbers in the community spike, they'll be back in masks. But our folks have been doing 10, 12-hour shifts in masks for 3 years and dealing with all the protocols and stuff like that and keeping people healthy, but that's a grind. And it's done crazy things with revenue and expenses, crazy with expenses. We've gotten a lot of help from the feds, but then with a COVID case, they shut you down for admissions, and it's been a while since that's happened too. So we've been admitting people, and we are close to a full house. We briefly had a full house a few weeks ago, and I'm not sure where we're at now, but we're close. But if somebody gets COVID on a unit, you can't take admissions until everything's clear. So it's still with the healthcare community. Amazing process, key, great start with the nursing home project. They're on schedule to have the foundation is done on or near done on the new unit. Steel's going to start going up, and so they're hoping to have that closed in so they can work on the inside in the wintertime. No huge surprises on the underground work, so we're in good shape with the contingency. The Sugar River Region website is up and running. Sullivan House is operational. The elevator finally got done, 10 days ago, 2 weeks, something like that. Worked well with the Claremont Fire Department and building inspector to do the temporary certificate of occupancy. That slowed us up, but luckily we've gotten some of the opioid money settlement, so we're whole budget-wise with that. Wrapping up the lead paint grant, done a bunch of houses and apartments, mostly Claremont, some Newport, one in Croydon, one in Charlestown, I think. So we're trying to, and Cheshire County didn't want to do it. We're working with Monadnock Economic Development to do another one that will include Sullivan and Cheshire counties. And yeah, nursing home, got ahead of myself. Nursing home's nearly full. Budget, the big picture. Oops, did I skip one?
The slideshow now.
Oh, okay, yeah, go ahead.
Photos, I didn't want to print those out because of all the photos.
And kudos to Matt and Mary keeping an eye, keeping the newsletter and with, slow down, I'll narrate them, to keeping the community and you folks informed as to what's going on with the project, the families, and that's helpful.
Go back to Sharon.
And, yeah, so they're out, every couple of weeks, something like that, and the sheriff is doing the drone footage, and that's all on the website. And Matt's doing a great job with the families, and knock on wood, we were a little worried that people might be afraid to come with the parking lots changed and stuff, but as they say, we're down a number of rooms for the construction, but we're flirting with a full house, so that's cool, and with the biomass, I think residents and their families are kind of excited to see it going on. Okay, go ahead, and then the next one was, and we've been trying to do stuff to make it, as you can see, still in this was, I don't know, this spring, but still in Mass, so trying to make it as fun as you can. And this was Matt and Dare, and who else is that? Becky from training person, graduates of in-house L&A class, unit aides. They worked while they were in high school. They were working to help in the nursing home and getting their L&A certificates. So Matt and Becky went to do their health sciences cords, or Sausage, I guess, Newport, their cords, but went to class night to do that. So that's, again, working in the community and trying to grow homegrown staff. Discover Sugar River region, starting to work on some signage with that, and trying to get folks listing farm stands, and trying to work on a way to make it economically sustainable once the grant funding runs out, and toying with all kinds of ideas of merchandise, but the chambers are on board. There is a separate, not board of directors, whatever we call them, board of directors for that are working on trying to make it economically self-sustaining. And there's the lead paint. With the banks have been thrilled to do that, as it helps them keep properties lead-free, and it's good for all of us. And that's kind of what happened. So it's still ongoing. So if you know anybody, it's more kids. It's trying to keep kids away from lead. So grandmother's house might not work unless the grandkids are there, but there's still money available for that. And this was the ag and farm and forest at the nursing home. How many schools was there? Oh, Lionel isn't here. Must have been 10 or a dozen schools.
Yeah, like
Something
250 kids.
We do in combination with Farm Bureau. Farm Bureau sets up, we provide the place, and Farm Bureau provides the exhibitors, everything from wool and sheep and horseshoer and all that type of stuff is there. So it's great to use it. We were donated the Blue Lives Matter flag by a constituent, basically, I think, that, so we have the flag, won the Chili Walk prize, and that was a certificate of valor for one of the sheriff, one of the folks that actually saved a life. Yeah. In the jail. So it's been busy. And these are the adult ed classes that we've done at the tech center with grant funding, using the drone. Claremont, I think that's Claremont Fire. We've used it for a couple of fire departments looking for hot spots and stuff like that. And in our roadshow where we went around to the city council and select boards, and the sheriff had already done this with police and fire, but to let them know the drone is available if somebody's missing, or I think they look for a missing person in Cornish. Claremont Fire's used it for a couple times to check with hotspots because it's got the infrared camera. And Representative Aarons was Legislator of the Year from the New Hampshire Association of Counties. So it was nice to have her at the convention and have that presented at the luncheon. Okay. Let me get that done. Okay. All right, so inflation, agency nursing staff, it seems like nurses are leaving Hospital A, going to agency in Hospital B, and nurses at Hospital B are leaving that, going agency to Hospital A for twice as much money, and it's hard to blame them if they can do it. So, but starting to get a handle on that. We're working with an agency to, and people are starting to realize grass is not green on the other hand. So I think it's like inflation. It's starting to level off. It hasn't really gone down yet. And nursing staff increase, as I mentioned, what a bear it's been, and they're looking to get paid, and there are a lot of them, a lot of nursing folks left, and so it's, they're looking to get paid, and we need to pay them. Tax offset, fund balance, we're weaning away from that. As I mentioned, 24 beds are offline. We're down to 132, but we're close to there. And it's a tough about trying to mitigate the economic impact, and we are using some of the fund balance in the budget to get it down to where it is. But it's scary, because you never know when COVID-20 has come along. Planning for the future, Ahern will be empty. We had planned to use Ahern for training, off-site training and stuff like that, and may still do that, but we applied for a grant with Northern Borders for the nursing home project, and then it didn't work for that, but they said, what about childcare? And so we looked into that, and they have grant funding, actually suggested that we apply for a grant for childcare. So we're going to do a feasibility to see if we have employees that are interested, what it might entail, and if it looks like there is a need and folks that would avail themselves of it, we're going to look into applying for a grant and perhaps using Ahern for childcare for staff, and as a way of keeping nursing staff, keeping all staff. So that's the planning for the future. Okay, now the numbers. So appropriations are basically up, what we're looking to spend are up 2.34%. So even less, less than what inflation is, but where we get bit in the butt is to do a delegation budget, non-property tax revenue, which is basically nursing home revenue, is down just a little bit. From last year, next, yeah. Fund balance, to reduce the tax rate, basically, we're looking to use the 1.7 million as opposed to 3.3 last year, and that brings us down to just about 3, basically what the guidelines are, 2 months of operating revenue. Transfers to reserve and revenue to be raised from property taxes. That's the big number. Actually, we're a little bit under that now, right? Under the 16?
No, that's
Okay.
That's what it is currently.
All right, between the 2.5 taxing, so $1 million to offset revenue from the inflation, the supplemental budget that, $900,000 increase budget, increased costs of agency staff. That was the supplemental budget. And we think we're going to be ahead of revenue to pretty much close that off, so it won't add to the deficit. It won't reduce fund balance. Cost of living adjustment for the staff, which again is right on level with what inflation is. And we're going to use Sullivan County reserves into the nursing home. So that's to keep the nursing home reserve balance where it is. Tax offset trend, inflation is reducing positive expense budget variance. Yeah, we've traditionally come in well under, over on revenues and under on expenses. And that's why we had to do the supplemental budget last month, because inflation on staff, agency nursing, and electricity were the biggies. And you can see where the hand cramp, what we've used to offset the budget, and from reserves and other, and what ProShare has done, that's what the state uses, or state and federal, to enhance the county nursing homes that deal with a high Medicaid rate compared to privates that don't. And it's a crapshoot. We've got a pinky swear on the 2.7, which was a pleasant surprise. And there is a memo to that effect, so we're quite certain that's what we're getting. But it's always a crapshoot. County government is people business, and this is basically, a huge part of the lion's share of our budget is people. And we're not alone in that. And you've heard on the news, Hitchcock is having trouble keeping nursing staff and budget, and they're cutting people. We haven't increased people, and we think we can grow our own. And if we do layoffs, we reduce services and reduce income. Budget, I basically list where everything else is. The next one is just what everything else costs is compared to 23 million, the food and everything else is 4 million. So it's, an expense budget. Human services is folks that are not in the nursing home. They're using Medicaid money. Home and community-based services, folks that are in Elm Terrace or Woodlawn or something. If they're Sullivan County residents, we're still obligated, the county is still obligated to pay their share of the Medicaid. So even if they're not in the nursing home, we're paying for it and have no control over it. So community grants, we had like $400,000. That's the grant agencies, West Central, all the grant agencies, we had like 400,000 requests. They were through the roof, and pared it down to 246. Extension, we're kind of the small part of the three-legged stool between the state and federal government and the debt. And the next one is just kind of, they're big numbers, but relatively small compared to personnel. Budget highlights, we're looking to use 1.7 to offset taxes, 600,000 from the reserve fund. That gives 1.4 million to the final 2 years of the renovation project, and 500,000 from unassigned fund balance. 300,000 estimated, a little over what we budgeted in ProShare, and protected, and so that's kind of the other. Now that so that's basically where the money goes. Most to the nursing home, but the nursing home comes pretty close to that, and well, it's within what, a couple $1 million. I say pretty close. The nursing home is the only one that has revenue that takes a big hit off the expenses, but oh, there's the revenue here. So 18 million in, yeah. And so it's expenses, yeah. So that's where the revenue comes in from the nursing home. List of the capital projects that are sheriff's vehicle, other equipment, 27 pay periods. We got burned by that a couple of years ago. It's coming up in, what, 3 years, something like that, depending on when the calendar falls. And from, instead of the 26 pay period, and it's a big number, so we're putting money aside so we don't get hit with that and interest. So basically the capitals projects are with the nursing home project buttons up a lot of them, and it's we're ticking them off, so there's not a ton to do. Capital reserves. So that's basically projects is that last year and this year, right? So, and yeah, here are the county grants. Community transportation, the only different one was the Claremont Learning Partnership was a new one that runs the teen homeless shelter and a lot of other stuff, but that's the main thing that I know them for. And pretty similar to last year, I think. As I said, we had a ton of new entries, and a lot of these folks were looking for more money. Then fund balance. So the 3.5 million is what where we wanted to be. Gives us the 2 months of operating, and we had stupidly high for a couple of years, and we had most of you remember we had the big debate: do we go up on taxes by a couple percent and keep some fund balance, or do we drop it, use the money to offset taxes? It's taxpayers' money. It's been a debate on every board, select board stuff that I've been on. How much of the taxpayers' money do you keep? And the collective wisdom was to use it to offset taxes. And so taxes were level or went down for a number of years, and we're chipping down. We're a little below where we want to be, but we're hoping with the nursing home being full and strong revenues for the last month, it will be hopefully up to that 3.5 million. And that's why, that's basically what it was, with a stabilize the tax rate. And there's the age-old argument: would you rather them go up a couple percent a year or stay level, and then when the fund balance is down, have the spike, which we're going to have? And I suppose that makes sense. Don't take the taxpayers' money until you need it. And we don't see need for a TAN this year, but it may come back soon. And tax history. It's the graph on the next one. And as I say, so we were well under inflation. Inflation's the straight 1.5% inflation, and so inflation's gone crazy, and we think we're going to level off. We can see the end of the tunnel. Okay, so, and this is a budget we sent out to the towns and select boards. EFC has it now. They're working on it, and will present their version to you folks at the 27th, 2 o'clock here. So with any questions, I'll I'll ask these folks to help.
Derek, you're all set? Speak, okay. All right, number 3. We're gonna open it up for comments from the public, so anybody here from the public would like to ask questions about the budget, please stand up, ask your questions.
No, that was babbling, but.
Anybody? Okay, and we're gonna open it up for the delegation for comments. Anyone with questions from the delegation? Representative Aaron?
Thank you, Chair Rollins. So with regard to the budget, I know that we have opioid money that is included in the budget that we are expecting to receive. And I'd like a little clarification about how much money we're looking at receiving and what kinds of problems we may be seeing from that.
Receiving from,
From DHHS?
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, yes, Representative Aaron, thank you for the question. We are expecting to get a reimbursement of $147,000. It's actually $147,630 from a bill that we had to pay related to the Sullivan House construction. We had applied for a grant from the Opioid Abatement Commission, and they approved that grant in last November. And then we were simply waiting for the bureaucratic process of taking the approved grant funds, processing it through DHHS, that's the agency that has to do all the administrative work on behalf of the Opioid Commission. And but by the time February came around, we had subcontractors that had completed their work, in the fall previous, and so they were very, very anxious and eager to get paid. So we knew the money was coming, just a question of when. So we went ahead and paid that bill just to avoid A, getting sued, and B, just, continuing to be a good and reliable partner for our local contractors. So anyway, the Governor and Council finally approved it on May 3rd. And then the initial discussion that I've had since then with the DHHS staff is that they're working to make sure that we can get that reimbursement, but it's they're claiming that it's complicated because it was paid before Governor and Council's approval, which is, in my opinion, a little bit ridiculous because there's another opioid grant that's actively being solicited right now. In fact, it's due on Friday. That entire grant is based on past reimbursements all the way back to July of 2020. So it's completely okay for reimbursable expenses for this RGA, the request for grant application, but they're giving us a hard time a little bit on that reimbursement for RGA number 1. So I'm still optimistic we're going to get it resolved satisfactorily, but when we banked on getting that expense reimbursed, that was a big part of our expense variances that we talked about. One of the reasons why we didn't have as much variance at the end is because we had to front that bill, but I fully expected to get every nickel of it back. So it's just been, frankly, a little bit of a frustration. But like I said, we're not giving up, and we are actively working it. I had email exchanges this morning with the interim chief of the Bureau of Drug and Alcohol Services, which is within DHHS. Yesterday, I drove to Concord to attend the Opioid Abatement Commission meeting in person and repeat the essence of the letter that I sent to Senator Rosenwald, who's the chair of the commission, to say that, hey, the commission approved us for this grant, and we really need that money, and we shouldn't let the bureaucratic and administrative processes, which are necessary, absolutely necessary, but I don't think that they necessarily needed to take as long as they did, and so we got into that bind of the timing. So it's just one of those things. It's just unfortunate, but like I said, we are trying to continue working on it.
Mr. Chair, may I?
Yes, you may.
A follow-up question? Is there anything, Manager Ferland, that the delegation can do to assist you in pushing forward your request to receive the funds that are due us? Perhaps the delegation can write a letter to the opioid commission or something along those lines. Is there something that we can do to help?
That would be awesome.
Couldn't hurt. It certainly could not hurt.
You know, I spoke to Executive Counselor Rosenwald a couple of weeks ago, just to let her know.
What, not Rosenwald,
Warmington, sorry, yes. Too many Cindy's, I think, yeah. Yes, thank you for that clarification. I did speak to her on the phone, so she was aware, but this is not something we just go run to the Executive Council every time you run into at least a little bit of resistance, but I did think it was prudent to at least get it on her radar should we need additional assistance. I mean, the DHHS is an executive branch agency. Ultimately, they do report to the governor and executive council, so from a chain of command standpoint, I felt like it was appropriate to at least plant that seed. But I do think there are some other levers that we can and should take, and having a delegation letter written to send to the commission would be dynamite, because my impression yesterday was they want me to go away, they want this to go away, and you had commission members kind of pointing to DHHS, say, well, there's nothing we can do, it's up to the department now. And as of the email I got this morning, the department's telling me, well, it's really gonna be a long shot. And I said, why is it a long shot? Just modify the contract, it's just as simple as that. They might not want to do that, but, and when I said to one of the commission members who was originally trying to tell me that the $50,000 discrepancy between what the commission apparently voted for and what our contract was for wasn't that big of a deal. And I said, maybe where you're from, $50,000 isn't a big deal, but I'm here today on behalf of the taxpayers of Sullivan County, and I think they're due every nickel of what the commission voted to approve, and I'm not gonna stop until I get it. So I went there, thought I was gonna try to be calm and cool, and it kinda didn't end up that way, but I think the things that I was being told were just, it was astonishing, I guess is the easiest word for it.
Councilor Warmington said all the right things, and I think she will be a big help, but yeah, any letter from you would certainly help, because it seems to be, the cynic in me says the state budget got 15 million in interest revenue, so they're trying to hold on to it for as long as they can, but.
Would anybody from the delegation object to such letter? No?
Do we have any volunteers, or just one person? Would you like to do that letter, or would you like a small?
I would certainly like to work on a draft with the manager and then present it to the delegation for signature.
Is that okay with everyone? The delegation? Okay, now how soon do we need this?
The question of timing is not a serious concern. I mean,
So if we were to do this and have this ready by next meeting, July.
that'd be perfect timing.
Would that be fine?
That'd be perfect timing.
You can have that drafted by the 27th?
Absolutely.
Okay. And could you get that emailed out to everybody so everybody can
Sure.
take a look at it beforehand?
Absolutely.
To see what's in that draft and see if they have anything they want to revise before we.
Okay.
Representative, go ahead.
Chairman,
Hey.
yeah, just a fine point that I think can go into the letter is it's frustrating to wait months and months for something that you thought was done. But let's make the point that because this carries over fiscal years, we are making the assumption in our FY24 budget that this money's coming.
Exactly.
Representative Sullivan?
I think it's a good idea to get the letter done and sent out to the delegation. It's important that we don't debate the letter via email. I'm doing that for Sharon because otherwise she'd have to remind us all.
Okay. We're all set with that? Okay, any other questions from the delegation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Merchant?
If I may, I noticed that one of the comments that was raised in the PowerPoint presentation, I think it was on slide 30. There's a note on the bottom of it talking about when the fund balance dropped from fiscal year 14 to fiscal year 15, Lake Sunapee Bank asked for a meeting to review county finances. With our bond going out, I think we had some going out to the state, which is a fixed rate, and some going out to the bond market as a free rate. Given the fact that if I look at the fund balance on the previous page, which is on page 29, at the end of fiscal year, we're projected to be below our fund balance of 3.5 million, but if I look at also the fact we're taking $500,000 out of the fund balance, which now drops us down to 2.5 million, is that gonna trigger an issue with the bond market, with the ability for us to get a favorable rate with the bond market?
That was actually before your time, wasn't it? Yeah, I don't think so. Was that, you can tell me you had more with the bond bank. I don't know if if that's something, I'm sure they look at it. As I remember, it was 14, 15. I'm gonna look back at that one. You're asking me to put my memory cap on. Trying to get back to the chart of the fund balance.
It's on page 22.
Yeah, 14, 15. I honestly, it was in the, whether it was they were reacting to something somebody had said in a meeting or not, I can't remember. It turned out to be nothing. You know, they met with the manager at the time, and it was not a big deal, but it's something that was put on that slide for the next year, and I think it stayed on since. I mean, it happened, but I can't tell you the details, remember the details or who it was with the bank, but it was it turned out not to be an issue. And I think with some strong revenues in June, I don't know about nursing home seems to be doing well. I think we can get up to the, if not the 3.5, pretty close. I think that's accurate, right? Is that?
We'll have to wait and see. That's why that projection is as of what I think is going to be today.
Oh, okay, all right.
So, if I may.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Chairman Commissioner Benz Nelson. If at the end of fiscal year 2023, we're projecting it to be around 3 million, but if I look at the slide on page 22, I believe it was, we're looking to take $500,000 from the unassigned fund balance to cover next year's budget. If I do the math correctly, 3 million less 500,000 drops us down to 2.5 million.
Well, I think
That includes.
that's in this, yeah, that's in this graph. So taking that out gets
So
us to 3.
So the fiscal year 2.3 is actually higher than that? Because if we take it out of fiscal year 24, fiscal year 23 has to be higher in order to take out the 500,000 to leave it at 2 point. So I'm trying to figure out the math. That's all. And my concern is that if we do this, we're not saying we shouldn't, but does that cause a concern in the bond market? Because if you're looking at bond market people, looking at our financials, when they're looking at how much they're gonna charge us for interest based upon our financial risk, is that gonna be an issue for us on the bond market? That's what I'm trying to get to.
I can ask the bond bank. I mean, I don't know how much of a factor or if it's a factor at all. I do know when we go through the bond bank, we use their credit rating. It's one of the advantages of using the bond bank. You don't have to go out and get your own credit rating, but as far as how big of a factor this might play, that's not a question I can answer, but I can certainly find out.
And could you get that information by the next meeting?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
No question.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Because I think at least I thought I heard, we're gonna have different tranches. One was gonna go out with the state, which would be fixed and go through the state rating, and one was gonna go out independent of it. So the one I'm concerned about, not the one going through the state, because the state is locking us in at the state rate, because it's really the state backing it up versus us individually. I'm more concerned about the independent bond that we're going out for, because that's gonna be judged by us only, and not by us being pulled into with the state. That's all I'm trying to get to, so thank you.
So just to reiterate, they're both going through the bond bank. Well, the recommendation would be to use the bond bank for both. The last bond did go through the bond bank. It was just outside of their normal twice-a-year cycle. So it was, I think we took it in November was when it was consummated. So That was the one where we got our own interest rate because we were the only entity to enter the bond market. But if we do it again in the summer of '24, like we're projecting, the assumption would be that we would just jump in with their normal June or July, I can't remember which, it's one of the summer J months. And we would just be part of that larger bond sale at that time. But either way, they're both with the bond bank.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
One other question is on the grants that we have. Was the amount of money we're allocating to the grants equal this year to last year? My concern is that if we're decreasing the grant, which is, again, it's up to the commission, up to the delegation, but when we decrease money to agencies within our county that provide much-needed services to the citizens of our communities, if we don't support them in some capacity, we start taking money away from them, just like the state sort of downshifts their responsibility onto the county and the communities. If we downshift us onto the local municipalities and the people trying to do the best they can with what little funds they have, what impact does it have on our citizens, most vulnerable people in our county?
Help me with my memory, those of you that were there. I don't think anybody got decreased.
No, last year was 235,000, so the difference between last year and this year was West Central got an additional $500, the Claremont Learning Partnership was entirely new, and Got Lunch got an additional 1,000.
Thank you.
There were some folks that were asking for more, and we didn't do the increase that they were looking for, but nobody got decreased.
Thank you.
That's been pretty much level funded.
Yeah, there were a huge, like I say, a lot of folks were looking for more, and there were a lot of new agencies, but nobody got cut.
Thank you.
Okay, any other follow-up questions? Representative Merchant, you all set? Anybody else got any questions? Be bashful. Representative Spilsbury?
Just make an observation for those members of the delegation who aren't on the EFC. The EFC has met twice the last 2 Fridays subsequent to the commissioners putting together their proposed budget, and we'll meet again on Friday. We'll be coming to you with further reductions.
Very good. Any other questions? Okay, any questions from the public since we've been talking about it up here, the delegation? Nope, okay. County Convention votes on FYI 24 budget per RSA 24:22-A 111. Tuesday, the 27th of June, 2023, at 2 o'clock at the same location. So we'll be meeting here, the final vote on that day. All right? And the AFC will be presenting their budget that day, and then that'll be a bigger meeting to go over that stuff.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay?
Mr. Chairman?
A question? Absolutely, go
Question
ahead.
to the EFC, or somebody. Will the EFC's proposed budget be shared with the delegation before the meeting? So we have a chance to digest it.
Yes.
Just asking.
And feel free to come at 10 a.m. on Friday if you'd like to sit in.
Yeah.
Comments that I've heard, you guys are doing an excellent job getting that budget to where it should be, and I just wanted to comment, give you a commendation on that, you know, good kudos. All right, the next one is gonna be the revised sheriff's fee schedule, RSA 104:31 XI, and this is gonna take, we have to have a motion to open this up. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Okay, Representative Merchant makes the motion. Do I have a second? Representative Stone seconds it. And Sheriff Simons.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Hands.
As you know, part of the office, part of the sheriff's office duties revolve around fees for services that we conduct. As you remember from House Bill 36, which was voted on this year, it made a change to RSA 104:31, which is the fees that sheriffs and deputy sheriffs utilize during the course of the year. It takes effect July 3rd. What I'm coming to you for is by statute, a vote to allow these fees to be increased. Basically, if you look at the bottom of the sheet that you should have before you, the statute specifically says that the fees of sheriffs and deputy sheriffs specified in paragraphs 1 through 4 and paragraphs 7 through 9B those sections specifically relate to the fees for the sheriff's office. They may be increased once annually by a vote of the county convention. This is a change from last year's statute. It says the percentage of the increase shall not exceed the annual percentage increase in the consumer price index of all items for all urban consumers, Northeast region, as published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, United States Department of Labor. When it comes to changes for the fees for the sheriffs, it is the Northeast region that we fall under for the CPI. If you remember, Representative Spilsbury, you had asked me this question last year. It had spanned over the course of the 12-month period. It was specifically last year to the month of June. We couldn't understand why that was that way. That's now been changed to be the average of the 12 months from January to December of 2022, and that average is 6.98888, which is rounded up to a 7% increase. The letter you have before you explains that this increase would be added to the base of the writ service. We currently charge $30.30 for the service of a writ. That is by statute. And this increase would make that base rate up $2.12 to $32.42, up from $30.30. And I will be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions, delegation? No questions? All right, do I have a motion?
We already had a motion.
Well, do I have, oh, we already did it, yeah.
Yeah, the
Okay.
motion is
Okay,
been made and seconded, and now we have to vote.
there you go. Again, my
Want a
first
roll
time
call
out.
on this vote?
Yes, I'd like, everybody like a roll call on this vote? I think we should.
All right. All right, commencing with the roll call on this motion. Representative Aaron.
Yes.
Representative Cloutier.
Yes.
Representative Hope, absent.
No, I'm here.
She's here.
Oh, I'm
She's just
sorry.
being quiet today.
I didn't see her on the sheet. Sorry. And that was a yes.
Not usually invisible. Yes.
Thank you.
I'm just picking.
Representative Dry.
Yes.
Representative Merchant.
Yes.
Representative Palmer.
Yes.
Representative Rollins.
Yes.
Representative Smith is absent. Representative Spilsbury.
Yes?
Representative Stapleton, that's a yes for Stapleton. Representative Stone.
Yes.
Representative Sullivan.
Yes.
And Representative Tanner.
Yes.
12 yes, and no no's, and one absent. The
Very
motion
good.
passes.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. Now we got to approve the minutes for the meetings. Let's start with A, 24th of May, delegation meeting that was public. Anybody got any questions? Does that look okay to everybody?
Yes. I'll make the motion, please.
Make the motion. Action so taken. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Representative Dry. May 24th, non-public session,
We
really.
have to vote on that,
Oh, you have to vote on,
on this one.
oh, you have to vote? Oh, yeah, okay. Get after
Want a voice vote on that?
Yes, let's do a voice vote on that. I think that'll be quicker and a lot better. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Abstain.
I abstained too, I wasn't there.
Abstain. Two abstains who
Two
weren't here.
abstains, okay.
Clerk, catch up?
The two abstains were Rep. Palmer
Stone.
and,
Stone.
what's that?
Stone.
Representative
Palmer
Stone.
and Stone.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Now the minutes on May 24th, the non-public session. Any questions on that? Any differences?
Have a motion to accept the minutes?
Second.
All right, Representative Aaron made the motion, Representative Sullivan seconds.
All those, any discussion?
No, we get it over with quick, yeah. I'm like Steve, I'm pushing it. Let the clerk catch up.
Okay.
And now this is for the EFC on June 9th.
No,
Oh, we gotta vote on it.
Yeah. Voice vote.
Why did I do that? All right, let's do that as a voice vote also. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain again, same thing.
Get after me. All set with that one? Are you, oh, hang on a second.
Palmer and Stone on the abstain, right? Two?
Two abstentions, yep, so good.
It was just for EFC
Right.
members.
You all set, Walt?
Yep.
Okay. The next one is EFC, the EFC meeting for EFC members only on June 9th.
I move we accept the minutes.
Second.
All right,
Aaron Palmer.
Who's that?
Aaron.
Ben Palmer,
Motion.
okay, yep,
Palmer, second. Oh, it's Pillsbury Smith, second.
okay. Okay,
okay.
You know, all those- you gotta
Just the
vote- you gotta
EFC?
vote on those,
Just the EFC?
minute, yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And we'll let the clerk catch up again. Which one, Joe, I wouldn't want to do? You're busy. Where was,
okay,
are you set, Walt?
and that was the minutes for
EFC.
EFC, June 9th.
June 9th, thank you.
Yep.
Got it.
Got it?
Yep.
Okay, now, is there any old business? No old business, we'll move on to new business. Any new business? No new business? Now, here's everybody's favorite part of the day. Who would like to make the motion to adjourn?
Undebatable motion to adjourn.
Seconded? Seconded, John. Okay. Meeting adjourned.
Good job.
So keep it after. Yeah, first time out a little rusty. I'll get it.
You'll be an expert by the time you're done with the second one.
Very nice.